21st January 2025, we are going to discuss editorials from Business Standard. You are all welcome to Democracy with Dungavat channel. Without further delay, let's start our discussion. First article here, it talks about India and its dream budget. We will discuss this article in detail. In less than 2 weeks, basically in February, the finance minister will present union budget for 25-26. This budget will come in the background of slowing economy. Even it is characterized by high levels of fiscal deficit, even debt to GDP ratio also. That means finance minister will have to find a way to announce policy initiatives in order to increase the growth. At the same time, achieving fiscal discipline also important matter. While there are several important issues such as calls for tax cut, increased infrastructure spending, this budget they need to look beyond them. They need to bring more sustained growth. So we need to raise two questions. What are all those? What is the diagnosis so that this slowing economy can be brought down and then it can be improved? What can budget will do? What can budget can do in order to address such kind of situations? Let's understand first question: how to tackle slowing economy? There is always consensus. The slowdown is kind of temporary, but data suggests otherwise. See, if you remove one quarter, economy has been slowing steadily since mid 2023 with real gross domestic product rate falling below over 8% or under 6% in just a year. High frequency indicator, they also show post-COVID growth momentum. It is kind of fading. Growth is not happening because it is signaling deeper structural slowdown basically. Before COVID, economy, it was struggling. It was growing at less than 4% in Q4 of 2019. Post-COVID, many high-frequency indicator pointed out emergence of two different economies within one. Basically, in Indian economy, two economies emerged. One is old economy, one is new economy. What do you mean by old economy? Old economy emerged in middle and rural India. Middle class, you say, rural India. New economy basically driven by boom in the service exports. If you see new economy, it is fueled by rise of global capability centers. Basically, US-based companies, they are employing high-skilled Indian workers in sectors such as research and development. What do you mean by global capability center? Let us suppose say two countries are there, USA and India. USA, the company, if they want to carry out the same work in United States of America, they have to hire manpower and then they have to pay them the competitive remuneration as per United States of America standards. They can avoid that. How? They can start company exactly replication of whatever they have started in United States of America in places such as Bengaluru in India. Then they can hire skilled manpower in India. They can pay 1/3 or 1/4 of amount whatever they pay there. So in that way they can recruit more people and then they can gain also. This new economy, it is boosted with luxury consumption also, such as SUVs, even mini boom in construction sectors also. In comparison, if you see old economy, this has been weaker even before pandemic also because low private sector investment, weak goods export, there are several such things among others. Workers in the old economy, they have been getting battered by high food bill inflation. And then there is fall in real wages also. If you see now, the new economy, it is slowing down. This is kind of normalizing to moderate growth pace. Together, these dynamics, they are creating serious demand problem. How budget should, now we have completed first question. Why Indian economy is slowing down and what kind of situation emerging? Second question, how budget can address them? So budget should address by reducing fiscal deficit. No. Two things are worth considering. First thing, budget should focus on rationalizing expenditure in order to achieve fiscal consolidation. In February 2023, Finance Minister they have set a target to reduce fiscal deficit to less than 4.5% by 25-26. But this will be very challenging in slowing economy, even with nominal GDP growth under 10%. But lowering fiscal deficit is essentially for macroeconomic stability, which is key for growth. What happens when you rationalize the expenditure, fiscal consolidation? Basically, your economy will be benefited. To achieve the fiscal consolidation, government should focus on reducing revenue expenditure. Basically, revenue expenditure includes schemes, transfers, and even constitutes nearly 77% of the total spending. For example, suppose say 80 crore people annually, we have to provide food grains to almost 80 crores people. That much of funding goes to this from revenue account. On the issues of growth, there is lot clamor for more government spending on infrastructure. While some infrastructure is needed, it is unclear if this alone can boost GDP growth. For sustained economic growth, revival of the private sector investment is very important, but public infrastructure spending does not seem to encourage this. With much infrastructure already built, marginal benefits of new roads or highways they are diminishing. Government infrastructure spending might be blunt tool for stimulating growth when private sector confidence remains very low. Suppose a government is investing like anything, but private sector won't invest anything, then it is kind of bad thing only. Likewise, tax cut, they can boost consumption, but given limited fiscal space, there is little room for widespread cuts. Large segment of the old economy where wages and poor job prospects are hurting demand, these large sectors of economy, they aren't even tax based because India is an informal economy basically. As a result, some tweaks here and there with the tax structure, they are unlikely to make significant impact. आप बड़ा impact कुछ भी नहीं लेके आ सकते हो इधर. To facilitate high sustained growth, budget must revive key elements missing from Indian economic agenda. What is that? That is reforms. Since we have brought down goods and service tax in 2017, no major reforms have been introduced. Many says no new reforms are added since all the key policy initiatives have been adopted. But this is not true. There is in fact much needed to be done. Given current economic climate, budget could propose liberalizing import tariffs, removing non-tariff barriers where import dumping is not at all concern, scrapping quality control orders that restricts kind of imports of vital supplies to manufacturing sector, even overhauling tax system including residence-based taxation in order to attract foreign investment, even further simplifying GST, eliminating cesses and surcharges, even completely avoiding excessive industrial policy so as to create a level playing field for all firms, and even incentivizing states to do land and labor reforms. Long overdue regulatory reforms, this also to be prioritized. The conversation around reforms, this has been faded, but now it is the right time to bring it back. This budget, it has to serve as a blueprint for the government long-term economic vision. They should lay comprehensive medium-term strategy in order to restore private sector confidence. Incremental changes in taxes, spending, they will not be enough to turn the tide. Economy will continue to struggle. The time is ideal for dream budget that is similar to 1991 reforms that sparked kind of high growth, unlocked significant gains in the productivity. This is the article about dream budget. Next article about India and Lubile economy. We'll discuss this article from oil and gas perspective. As far as oil and gas sector is concerned, India's gross domestic product, 15% will be contributed by this sector, 26% of the revenue receipts to central government and state government. Petroleum sector is contributing. Petroleum sector, they contributed 4.32% 2 trillion to government exchequer, basically central government, in terms of taxes, royalties and dividends. 3.19 trillion to state governments in the year 2023-24. This is kind of enough to cover combined federal government spending on pension, defense, health, basically whatever we have discussed in the revenue part. Fuel exports, they contributed 11% of India's total exports by value in the last financial year. Even country's major oil and gas companies, they contributed around 10.7% of the India's GDP. Oil Ministry, they received just only 1128.97 crores towards capital expenditure in budget estimate, against 35,000 crores in 23-24, almost just only 3.1% of the budgeted estimate in 23-24. A 30,000 crore grant offered for energy transition plans of the state oil companies. 5,000 crores even allocated for strategic petroleum reserves. 23-24, if you see, Petroleum Ministry, they received 12,240 crores in subsidies for LPG. Budget document, basically they have prepared that. Parliamentary committee report, this shows government must enhance capital expenditure substantially in the upcoming budget 25-26. Because wheel of Indian economy, this will be continued to be greased by oil and gas for the foreseeable future. If you see crude oil, we discussed several times, India is highly dependent on the crude oil. Recently, we depended on Russia. Russia provided crude oil to us at discounted price. Now that discount margin is reducing slower. It is almost becoming equal to Middle Eastern countries. Now Indian companies, they are planning to renew their agreement with Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates with term contract. Even they are planning to increase that spot contract also, because India needs continuous supply of oil with reliability. But greater concern is inability of the state-owned oil companies to make huge investments. If you see expenditure, in 22-23, almost 1.37 trillion has been allocated. But this year, as per budgeted estimate, only 1.18 trillion has been allocated, almost a reduction of 18,322 crores. Even oil refineries, they are facing a lot of issues in building grassroots refining and chemical projects, because most of the time it is being assumed that the current refining capacity is adequate to meet fuel demand in the country. Indian oil companies, they have been prompt in putting refineries for fuel. What about the fuel use? In India, if you see, per day we are using almost 5 lakh to 6 lakh barrels per day. India need for oil and gas is much longer duration in order to power its economy. International forecasters say US Energy Information Administration, they forecasted that India will be the biggest demand driver for oil in 2024 and 2025. Even it adds additional 2,80,000 to 3 lakh barrels per day annually. Basically, even Paris-based International Energy Agency also told the same thing. New Delhi-based think tank, the Energy Resource Institute, TERI, in a recent report, they outlined gasoline demand to peak by 2044-45 at almost 94 million tons of oil equivalents. If government successfully electrifies 30% of its passenger fleet by 2030. Diesel demand, this is expected to peak at almost 234 million tons of oil equivalent. India is in a position to build new refining capacity. It has been pointed out by several people. India is planning several greenfield refineries across the country in order to bring new petrochemical complexes and oil gas refineries. But the major concern is project delays. Why it is happening? Suppose we take few examples here. Paradeep refinery, it is located in Odisha of India. It was started in Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government and it was commissioned during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first term. Similarly, Hindustan Petroleum Refinery, basically Barmer in Rajasthan, they are still yet to commission. They told they will complete in June 2023, but they have delayed to now 31st December 2025. Even grassroots refinery Nagapattinam in Tamil Nadu, it is also delaying. Even Numaligarh refinery also face similar issue. So all these things points out we need to take a more proactive approach in order to bring these refineries to the life, and then we need to search for some oil so that we no longer depend on these oil exporting countries basically. So if you can see in numbers, exploration and production, refine and marketing, petrochemicals, payments to ISPRL, payments for new cabins, even capital support from oil marketing companies, you can consider like how much they are paying the budget. Standing Committee on Petroleum Ministry, they have given clear guidelines. So this is the article about. The next article, India and equity market, how it is changing in the present time. This article, you don't need to worry much about many of the things, but you need to remember few things. What do you mean by bond yield? What do you mean by foreign portfolio investment? Those foreign investors who are coming to India and then they are investing in India's share market, those are called foreign portfolio investment. Those who come to India, they will come with long-term investment, that is called foreign direct investment, FDI. That is the difference between FPI and FDI. What do you mean by bond yield? Suppose say government is selling one bond they sells, then you have to pay them certain price. Government pay you with coupons. Basically, suppose say every term they will pay you fixed amount, or at the end they will pay you interest based on the bond. On the yield to maturity, basically there is one term called YTM, yield to maturity. When bond period is 5 years, you will get continuous fixed interest rate on every year. At the end of 5 years, suppose a bond life is 5 years, at the end of 5 years you will get certain amount of money, right? That is called yield to maturity. Suppose say you bought bond today at 100 rupees. At the end of 5 years, you will get the 100 rupees only. But between 5 years, you might have got huge interest rate. That is called bond yield. So in United States of America, because of the new president has taken oath, basically Donald Trump, 47th American president, there is a similar terminology happening between India that has happened in 2013. 2013 bond yield increased in United States of America. India was facing high inflation. Even FPIs, those who have invested in Indian share market, they suddenly started selling their shares, and then they invested their money in United States of America. So what happens when money goes off? Indian money chases. Basically, demand and supply happens. Indian money chases only few dollars, then dollar will strengthen, rupee will weaken. This is what happening. Now, Indian rupee is at its lowest terms because of these things. So many things are happening. This is this article about bond yields increasing, inflation is increasing, even FPI sell-offs, they are very high on Indian markets. So we discussed 3 articles today. First article is about dream budget, how India should plan for its dream budget. Second article, we discussed about India and lubile economy. Third article, we discussed about India and equity market. That's all for today. Thank you very much for discussion.